Hi everyone, hope you've had a good week. So this week's Edra is called Parshas Korach, and unsurprisingly, it's all about a man named, you guessed it, Korach. So who was Korach? He was the first cousin of Moshe and Aaron. He was the son of Yitzhar, who was the brother of Moshe and Aaron's father Amram. He was the younger brother though. And so Moshe and Aaron are his older cousins. And in this week's Sedra, he takes issue with their leadership. It's not a rebellion against Hashem per se. He's not saying he doesn't believe in Hashem or he doesn't believe in the Torah. What he's saying is that he believes in the Torah, but he thinks that Moshe is just starting to make things up now, and that he's acting with a bit of nepotism, that suddenly he's got the leadership role, and then he appoints his brother Aaron. And the final straw was actually that his younger cousin Eli Tzafan, who was another one of the first cousins, he was just appointed as the Nossi, the prince of their family, of the family of Kohos. And at this point, he really, it really gets to him and he's really annoyed and he thinks like, why are all of these people more important than me or than anyone else? Why are they all in these leadership positions? I think I should be. And actually, he's got quite a bad reputation. He's gone down in history as being like synonymous with machlokas, with, being argumentative, causing quarrels. And he definitely does do that. But there's an interesting way of looking at it if you kind of look into what his intentions were, or one opinion on what they were. So Rabbeinu Bachya explains that actually he had a nevuah, a prophecy, where he saw that he was going to have very illustrious descendants. So, for example, Shmuel Hanovi, he was a descendant of his. And there were many Leviim who were singing in the Beis HaMikdash who through Nevuah, Korach knew about. He knew that he was going to have these very great descendants, and there's some Tehillim that were written by them. We've got Lam Natseach Livnei Korach, and he felt that actually, if he's going to have these really important descendants, he must, have a very important role to play, and therefore he wanted that extra level of spirituality. He wanted this leadership position. He wanted to be able to have a positive influence on people and, the extra responsibility that comes with being a leader. So he stirs up all this trouble. And what happens in the end is that actually Moshe and Aaron stand up for what they've done, because actually Hashem has commanded Moshe to be the leader and he has appointed Aaron to be the Kohen Gadol, and it wasn't made up. And Moshe calls on Hashem and he says, you need to prove it to everyone because, they don't believe me. So he says, show them a sign that proves once and for all that actually I was meant to be the leader and I haven't done anything wrong. And he suggests to Hashem, prove it with a sign that all these people will die in a very unnatural way. If these people die in a normal way of old age, then everyone will know that actually Korach was right and, I've just made all this up. But if you come up with this very unusual punishment, then everyone will know that actually I was doing the right thing. So what happens? Korach and his followers and his household and their possessions and their homes, everything gets swallowed up by the earth. The earth opens up in a giant chasm and everything plummets down and then closes up again as if there was nothing ever there. So, it's quite a horrific, shocking punishment, and everyone was gathered around and it was very public, and I'm sure to witness it was very traumatic. It's a very strange punishment. Where did this come from? So actually, this whole opening up in the earth, it wasn't just a spur of the moment thing. We're told in Pirkei Avos that there are 10 items that were created Bein Hashemashos, on the sixth day of creation. Now, Bein Hashemashos is that period of time on a Friday afternoon, just before Shabbos, when you're doing your last minute faffing. So on this very first Friday, there was no one else around really, just Adam and Chava, they'd been created already, and Hashem's doing his last minute faffing, and he creates these 10 new items, and they're listed in Pirkei Avos. There's, for example, the mouth of the well, and we know that became the well of Miriam. There's the mouth of the earth, which is this mouth that we're talking about here with Korach that swallowed him up. There's the mouth of the donkey, the talking donkey who spoke to Bilam. There's Moshe's stick. There's the mon. There's a list of 10 items. So what was so important about these 10 items that they are specifically created in that week? And there's seemingly very little connection between all of them. It's difficult to work out. So he puts together this suggestion. Rabbeinu Yonah comments on Pirkei Avos, and he says like this: actually, all of these items were all things that went against nature. They were unnatural, they were miraculous, and it was built into the fabric of creation that under normal circumstances, that certain things would act in a certain way. So he says, for example, the sea always lies flat, but it was conditional within that week of creation. When it was created, Hashem said to the sea, if I ever need you to, instead of lying down flat, you have to stand upright. And we know that there was an occasion when we needed it to, at Yetzias Mitzrayim, at Kriyas Yam Suf, the sea split. And that was built into creation. And again, with this, normally the earth just stays still, but Hashem created this chasm that could potentially open up if need be. And all of these things, a talking donkey, I mean, who knows when you might need a talking donkey. So, Hashem put that into creation just in case. And it almost seems like there's this idea that it was almost destined to be. Why did Korach have to be swallowed by the earth? Thousands of years before Korach even existed, this horrific punishment for him existed. And actually, Korach's argument, where he seems to be playing with this idea, where he says, I am in a position where I'm older in the family, I'm a direct descendant of Levi, and I should also be more important than Elisaphan because I've inherited it. It's almost destined. And also, if I look towards my future, I can see I'm going to have these very important grandchildren, great-grandchildren. It's destined. I can see it. It's meant to be. And therefore, I feel that I'm meant to be in the superior role. It seems like that is what is meant to be for me. And it's interesting because actually this list of 10 things, there's no names associated with them. We now call it the mouth of the well of Miriam, but at the time in Pirkei Avos where it's listed, it doesn't say who it's going to be for. It doesn't say that Miriam's going to be the owner of this well. It doesn't say that the donkey is going to talk to Bilam. It doesn't say who this stick is going to belong to. And actually the stick, I think, shows us exactly how all these things worked out. So actually this stick was passed down from all different people. And so Moshe's stick, which we know was used, for example, to hit the rock, to split the sea, it's used in many different ways. Aaron also used the same stick. He used it to do the first 3 makos. And in this week's Sedra, his stick flowers. It's also apparently the same stick that Yehuda owned in the story of Yehuda and Tamar. And this stick got handed down. And apparently all future kings of Israel had this stick. And the Moshiach is going to have this stick. So it was clearly a miraculous stick that could be used in many different ways. And it was used in different ways at different times. And I think the point is that nothing is predestined. It's all there in potential. But nobody knows yet who it's going to be for, who it's going to happen for. So I think Korach could potentially have been extremely great. You can see he's got extremely great ancestors and extremely great descendants. He was the weak link because he was so consumed with living somebody else's life. He kept looking at Aaron and thinking, that needs to be me. I need to be in that important role. And there's this very nice story told about this rabbi called Reb Zusha. And he was once asked, Reb Zusha, if you had the opportunity to swap places with Avram Avinu, would you take it? And he thinks, and he says, no, I wouldn't take it. And he's asked, why wouldn't you take it? Why wouldn't you want to be Avram Avinu? So he says, look, it might be of benefit to me to be Avram Avinu, but it's not of any benefit to Hashem. He'd still only have one Avram Avinu and one Reb Zusha. So, if I'm Reb Zusha or Avram's Reb Zusha, or if he's Avram or I'm Avram, it doesn't really make a difference. If he is Avram and he gets to be Avram, then, I just need to be Reb Zusha because Hashem clearly chose to create me as well. I don't need to be him. He needs to be him and I need to be me. And that should really have been Korach's approach. He could have been a far better Korach than he was. And I think that was the cause of his downfall. He was trying to be somebody else. And I think often in life, you know, we get quite caught up in, if only I had that person's job, or that person's promotion, or that person's house, or that person's spouse, or that person's children. If I had different life circumstances, I could be much happier, much more successful, much more accomplished. And then, you know, when X, Y, and Z happens, that's when my life will begin. But I think this week's Edra is teaching us that you can only be you. The things that you do, the things that you decide, the decisions you make can make a huge difference to the course of the outcome of your life. And nothing is predestined. You know, everything can change. You can make decisions and they change. The only thing you can't change is who you are. You have to be the best you that you can be, not anybody else. Have a very good week and good Shabbos.